Hey, busy business people. I am here today with another entrepreneur, AJ Saunders. He helped a blog grow their organic traffic 300 to 400%. So to kick things off, I know using content marketing growth income is part of what you can you just briefly explain what affiliate marketing is and then why blogging is important to affiliate?
Sure. So how I see affiliate marketing is I see it as basically you're writing content around either products or people, and then you're monetizing that either by adverts, by saying people to buy certain products, or by getting them to take a certain actions. So, for example, if you're working with like a software company and you get some money every time somebody signs up for like a SaaS product, or they buy a product. So that's how I kind of see affiliate marketing. So I try to think of it as simply as possible, just because I think that's the easiest way to do it. But yeah, you're essentially you're monetizing action, people that take action in a way. And then content is really, really important because I think in order to get people to take an action, you have to build trust. So I think the best way to build trust is content. And I think, you know, with with a lot of products, actually, you can find something unique that you can talk about that instantly builds trust, instantly builds credibility, and pushes people to want to take action by your link, which is the really important thing.
I love that. Now let's talk about that blog where you increased organic 300 400%. What did you do to make that happen? How long did that take?
So sure, so that's one of my consultancy plans. So what I did with him is he actually had a pretty good blog to begin with. He just wasn't really targeting any keywords. He wasn't doing any of the on-page tricks that we all know. So he had really long kind of essay-driven paragraphs, which nobody wants to read. He had very little subheadings. He had very little internal or external links, and he used very, very little media. So pretty much, I think on about 10 maybe 20 blogs, what we did is we just worked through. I said, right, okay, take these massive blocks of text and either break them up into 2 or 3 lines and have them as new paragraphs, or break them up into smaller sections that then have 2 or 3 lines per paragraph. And so you're actually then kind of helping the user actually get through the content. So that's one of the first things we did. The second thing that we talked about is saying, can we rearrange the content so it answers the user's questions? So if you're talking about like a book that you read that was amazing and that was life changing, what questions are people going to want to know about that book when they read a review? So they're going to want how long is it going to take me to read the book? What are the big 3 or 5 takeaways? Where can I go to find out more about the author? Those kinds of questions, they're really easy to kind of think about and think up. But also, we're thinking like a book. You can then summarize each kind of chapter kind of into a sentence or two, and that can be really, really useful because if you can't get to the book or keep putting off getting reading the book, we're all guilty of that, aren't we? Right? We all want part of books, don't we? So I think I'll get to the book of that someday. Having a really short summary actually can be really, really impactful in terms of just converting traffic as well. Because you demonstrate that you've read the book.
Too, like the answering questions. I think that's
Yeah.
really, really important. And that's something a
Mm.
lot of people tend to overlook.
Right. And the other thing is that I look at trust on a page instead of how Google must look at it. So I look at it and say, okay, right, have I taken time to find resources that I can link to that kind of reinforce my points that are both on my site and off my site? So if you're writing a book review, have you linked to, say, the author? Have you linked to where you can get it, say, on Amazon? Have you linked to other, reviews, or what? Say somebody produced like a really, really great video review, or in a podcast with the author where they talk about the book. Those kind of resources can be really great because, say, it's an entrepreneurial book, you may have a whole section of them. So you may, be able to link them in and say, actually, I read this after reading this book, which is really, really good. And so then you're creating kind of links between you're creating more of a mesh kind of relationship between different blog posts on your site that actually drives users between different pages and different posts and keeps them on your site, but also builds credibility in terms of you look like you know what you're talking about because you're linking to all these places that reinforce your central points.
Showing that you're actually reading a lot of these different books and stuff.
Right.
Just like talking about one book.
No.
Bunch of books on some
Yeah.
books
Yeah.
and kind of making it a trusted resource. That makes a lot of sense. I don't think I've really thought about that. And a lot of book reviews and stuff typically just like, here's this book I read and here's what I got out of it, and like, thinking about reading this, maybe considering if you should buy this book, what questions would you? It's really important.
Yeah,
that's smart. That's a really smart little takeaway.
Yeah, but it also works when you're reviewing like lawnmowers, right? It's the same kind of thing. You know, if you sit there and you say, right, what makes this lawnmower unique versus X, Y, or Z, and then you start to kind of roll that out, and then you can then start to bring in. So the reason I like this more than say X is because X doesn't do this very well, Y does this very well, and it's then been really, really helpful to the end user, and also then you're creating relationships you link out to other products on the site.
You could even talk about like why you upgraded lawnmowers,
or
why a different lawnmower.
Exactly. Yeah.
Especially if somebody's like, "Oh, I have that exact same one, and I same problem."
Then, right.
This would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's a really smart little takeaway. It's like I've been doing content for 15 years and I don't think I have literally thought about it like that.
Yeah.
When it comes to like review type posts specifically. It's just the difference with affiliate marketing. I mean, like I just signed for my little thing with Amazon and just started like, maybe a couple months ago, when I did all that.
Yeah.
We had somebody at ETA, William Mapp, that was talking about affiliate marketing. And he was like, everything has affiliate links. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And I went and looked at every piece of software that I was already using. And it's like, I think probably 95% of them had affiliate programs.
Yeah.
And then Amazon's everything has an affiliate. I'm telling people
absolutely
all the time.
Exactly.
And it's like, and their affiliate program's weird. Like, I thought it was like, well, only people buy these books. I'm like, I'm not going to make any money on that. But it's like, anything they buy in like 24 hours, I've got an affiliate revenue on toothpaste. I didn't review toothpaste.
Exactly. And then the other little trick with Amazon, which I'm just sharing between you and me, all right? So don't share this with anyone. They also reward you mightily for bounties. So if you get some of these sites like Prime or Audible, in the UK it's £3. So I'm guessing that's like maybe $3 or $5 in the US. But you get that when they just sign up. And I think that's, even if they just take a free trial, you still get that bounty. Because Amazon have obviously calculated the lifetime value of something on Audible or on Prime is, means that they can spend ridiculous amounts of money on affiliates, right? Pay their affiliates. So actually, that's one thing that I'm trying, my little secret between us.
That makes sense, because I mean, like, once you're on Prime, there's no going.
No.
People that like Audible for audiobooks, I mean, it's like once they get into it, either like listen to one or two or I've seen this trend here lately, even where people are recommending that you listen to Audible at the same time that you're reading.
I've heard that. Yeah.
It's like, I can see that because that's how I learn best. Just like I read captions on videos.
Right.
So it would make sense to, I would absorb better if I did the same thing with a book.
Yeah.
It just never occurred to me.
No.
So it's like, that's something, well, that would be a neat little takeaway right there. When
exactly.
you do a book review, like make that recommendation. And say, oh, by the way, you should also consider getting the audiobook on Audible and actual.
Yeah. Exactly.
Bump up that affiliate revenue a little
bit. Exactly.
I think like one of the books I was reading, he actually makes that recommendation at the beginning of the book. He's like, this is like an expert tip. He's like, go grab a book and listen to it when you're reading my book. You'll absorb.
Magic.
Like I normally hate audiobooks because I can't absorb just listening. So
no.
I think I'm going to try it. But yeah, that would be a neat strategy on the review. So there's another little nugget.
There is,
Especially if they're doing better with Audible things. And you can be like, hey, you need
Exactly.
to sign up for Prime, so you have this for 2 weeks, and then
Yeah.
you need to sign up for Audible. Oh man. So we've talked about a lot of scenarios where blogging makes sense for affiliate marketing. Are there any where it wouldn't? Like, is there any type of affiliate marketing where it doesn't make sense to do blogging?
Sure. I think if you're doing something like, say, you're running like a sports website, people either because it's so fast paced and so fast moving, you're not really going to have time to really write any content about that. So, for example, I follow tennis. I'm a massive tennis fan, and there's literally a new tournament every day, and so people literally will finish. So something that I follow Simona Halep. So Simona Halep finished the US Open like Monday, flew back to she's Romanian. I'll probably be out playing again next week, right? So by the time you've written loads of content about that, the whole place has moved on. And it's the same thing with like American football. There's a new game every week, isn't there? And I know you guys have just come into football season. And so things like that, there's just no there may be value in like being a curator. So being able to pull all of this information into one spot and then surround it with affiliate links, right? So then therefore you're not actually writing any content, you're just, pulling in content from other people's sites. But yeah, I think something like that. Another one would be something like gambling. I follow one of the biggest gambling sites in the UK, gambling.com.
Mm-hmm.
I know they get a lot of their traffic literally by just having really well reviews. They don't have a lot of content on their site other than that. They have a lot of market insight into where the market is going, but I doubt people read their blog. Yeah, unless you're a hardcore kind of gambling fan. But yeah,
makes a lot of sense. So like fast moving industries or something like that were really hard.
Exactly.
And other ways to drive traffic.
Yeah.
Without produce a bunch of
No.
So kind of along that same vein, like why is organic traffic so important versus I guess paid or
sure.
manner of traffic?
Yeah. So to me, organic is really, really important because you may not make enough money or you may not have enough trust to convert well enough at the beginning. So you want to be getting organic traffic because if you're paying traffic, the numbers may not stack up correctly. And therefore, if the aim is to make money, which it hopefully is, right? You need to be working hard on organic. But I think there's lots of things that you can do in order to bring lots of good, strong organic traffic, like answering questions, thinking of where the user is in the buying cycle, and creating content around each step in the buying cycle, and really encouraging them to go on to the next step, and then buy the item. So, and I think all of that, like you said earlier, I think all of that kind of builds a depth to your content, and it builds a depth that Google then starts to realize that you're an authority on whatever. So you're an authority on gardening. Yes. Don't know why I'm talking about gardening, but let's talk about gardening. Right? I think if you have all those pieces of content about gardening, you then can really, really start to get lots of organic traffic, and you'll start to see you'll see your site ranking for lots of key terms that you maybe not have targeted, but Google thinks that it's relevant to show you for those key terms, and therefore you start to see traffic kind of creep up. And that can be really, really exciting. That can also create other problems where you see, a really high bounce rate, and at that point you go, right, okay, actually that's a really great keyword that I can write a piece about. So I haven't thought about that keyword. I'm still giving you love for no reason at all, other than kind of understands where you're going. And then you can write a piece that matches the intent of it better, and you can reduce the bounce rate. But maybe even get in a high position by writing a new piece of content.
Well, and that brings up another good point too. So it's like, I know a lot of people, when they get into affiliate marketing, they just kind of sign up for everything that they can sign up for. And they don't really have a central theme. Like, does it make sense, from what you just said with Google, to like your blog the central theme and only talk about products in that theme?
So I'm currently pivoting. So I'm currently at one of my websites is a really, really broad topic. I'm currently pivoting to literally 2 topics. I'm going from lots and lots and lots to very, very little. And, I've sold loads of each household products I've been selling, right? So I've been selling lots and lots of household products. It's been really, really great. but I feel that I haven't kind of been able to dominate an area and build real authority in one area or two areas. And so I've gone back and we talked a couple of weeks ago about building out kind of pillars and content structures that way, which is really, really interesting. And so, yes, that's what I'm currently working on, is pivoting to dominate, one or two things. I think the other thing is I've been spending a lot of time this year with people that are trying to get big on YouTube. The name that keeps popping up is Peter McKinnon, who's a photographer. I don't know who he is, but apparently he's amazing. But yeah. But what he started doing like 5 years ago is building out content around how to take photos or how to edit photos. And so now if you type on YouTube like how to edit photos or tips to take better photos, he's that first guy. And so you can't escape him. If you're looking on on YouTube for photos, he's going to be the top for everything. And he's now deals with, I think, with big camera manufacturers, and he's selling, I think, like $1 million or $2 million, $1 million or $2 a year of filters for Instagram and TikTok and those kind of things. So he's done really, really well by literally just dominating his little area. So yeah.
That's one of the strategies I talk about a lot when it comes to content is It's picking 3 core topic areas and then write at least 20 to 30 pieces of content in that topic area. But it can be broad enough that you end up with hundreds.
Yeah.
One topic, but you just become such an authority.
Yeah.
The resource cluster that I teach a lot just makes a lot more sense. Versus the traditional, it is a type of pillar page. I think that's one thing a lot of people don't realize is that there are multiple types of filler pages. There's traditional pillar that everybody's heard of, where it's a ton of content. But there's also resource pillars, which are just links to resources on that topic.
Yeah.
Some of those resources could be blog articles, they can be episodes, they can be videos, they can be product links, they could whatever you want them to be. But you make one page that's the repository of how you get to the things that matter on this.
Yeah.
And do it that way, and it's so much easier to put together, and you get all the benefit of writing those big 10x pillars. To write 10,000 word pillar that you have to maintain.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different ways to go about that. But I think it's really important. To kind of get clear on something, especially when it comes to affiliate marketing, because you're not necessarily writing from business perspective. If you have a business, you have your niche in the world that you specialize in.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're approaching it that way. But when it's affiliate, I'm going to gather all the links and build one on everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, I wholeheartedly agree. I think it's much better to pick, some topics that you're really passionate about rather than trying to be broad and trying to answer everything.
Yeah.
Because I think you're passionate about topics.
Not just if you're talking about what you're passionate about, I think you still have to be careful though, right? Because I'm passionate about a lot of things, I like crafting stuff, holy decorations, cooking recipes.
Yeah.
I think I've seen a lot of affiliate websites that were just chaos. It's here's everything that I like, but my little ADD self is got a new hobby every 2 months. So it's I'm never going to be if I wrote a blog like that, it's never going to rank well.
No.
Never going to be.
Yeah. And that's why I think a lot of these mommy bloggers they have the right intent, they have the right passion. That it's just misdirected, right? I think, I guess at the end of the day, it's just somebody sit down and say, right, actually just pick 3 or 4 things that you actually have impact in. And that's one of the things that I've realized, and that's one reason I'm pivoting, is I realize I'm not passionate about a certain topic, and there are better resources out there that I can never outrank. And so even though the payoff may be, exponentially bigger than, what I'm pivoting to, I'm only ever going to be a tiny, tiny goldfish in a massive ocean, right? And so I'm never going to get to the critical mass where I'm actually living on an island, smoking cigars and drinking rum, right?
Oh man, that's the dream, and that work less, make more, or not work at all and still make more.
Exactly.
Oh man. So it's we've talked about you have to put out a whole lot of content. And I know there's some questions anytime I'm talking about that they all have. So let's pick your brain on those.
Go for it.
So one of the big ones is, what do I write about? We hear that one a lot. Like, how do I figure out what I should be writing? What's some tips?
Sure. So after you identify like 4 or 5 big topics, I then say, right, okay, think about think about how it breaks down. So if you take something like cars, for example, you know, your big topic at the top is cars, right? And the top period is cars. And then your next level down is probably, well, what do people have associations with cars? And the first thing people think of with cars is brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you build up pages about different car brands, and maybe, so you can do a page with each car brand. You could do X versus Y, Y versus X, X versus Z, those kind of things. So Ford versus Lincoln, GMC versus Bentley, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's unfair comparison, but anyway. And then kind of the next rung down is you then can think about, okay, so what are the typical characteristics to buy cars for? So somebody might buy a Bentley, what I want to buy, because they're stylish, they're well dressed. I'm describing myself, of course, but anyway, but right, but it's probably like the worst family car you can ever have. So it's understanding those different characteristics and producing content around. What is the best car? You're fashion conscious or you're style conscious. What is the best? City car. So for me, like driving a Bentley, I live in a big city here in the UK, is a nightmare because the traffic is slower than walking, right? Whereas driving something like a Fiat 500, which is a little kind of, well, you'd probably call it compact, right? The Fiat 500 is like a perfect city car because it's like literally 2 people straight start. I can say it's more you should wizard it out, right? But again, it is imperfect for saying moving lots of big things. You may want to go for like a Ford truck or a Lincoln. Whereas if you're doing a lot of off-roading, you may want to go for something like a Land Rover or right? And so to me, so brands, then understanding different characteristics, because people don't buy color to me is a secondary kind of function, right? So people aren't going to buy a car because they see, a very, very tiny percentage of people will buy a car based on the color, right? But guessing with you got a blue car.
I've got a white one.
You're the white one, okay. Blue. I know. Well, that first $3.40, doesn't it?
It's like my frugal self just can't bring myself to go get it repainted. It crossed my mind, but I was like, there's literally no reason to other than I want to.
See, yeah. Well, you can get it wrapped. I don't think any conflict.
It is crossed.
Good.
Really
good. I have to say messages now to encourage you to be brave and do something stupid for a change. We just go get the car out. So it really is thinking. It's really thinking, putting your shoes in your market and trying to kind of figure out what people are asking. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is if you have customers, if you run like an offline business, is literally over the course of the next month or 2 months, noticing that every time somebody says, "Oh, I wish I had X," or "How does Y work?" Because actually your customers are giving you the ways to build authority and to build trust with them because they clearly can't find an answer to the question, or the answer is too hard to find. And what the great thing about that is because they're asking you in question form, ranking for questions on Google is far, far easier than trying to rank for the head key term, which is like a word or two, right? And that long tail traffic is going to be far, far more productive for your business because it's going to convert better. Because if somebody comes and says, why won't my Ford start in the morning, right? And you give them 10 ways why it won't start and what to do about it. And then at the bottom you have, if you live in Minnesota, call us now. You're far more authoritative than the person that says, well, we fix Fords. And because lots of people are just doing, we fix Fords, that's fantastic, isn't it? And not trying to educate and help their customers.
I know answering questions is like powerful that you
Yeah.
tell people to do. It's like, just think about questions people ask, or like
Yeah.
go online
Absolutely.
and look,
Yeah.
like go look
Yeah.
at, like, I know Quora, I'm probably
Absolutely.
murdering you to say that one. Quora.
Quora. I don't know. I think it's
something.
Quora. Yeah.
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 It's like a lot of people go there and ask questions. You can find questions on
Absolutely.
groups where your audience
Yeah.
is hanging out.
Absolutely. If you're selling to customers, you can always go on to Amazon and see what questions people have in their category. So you may not have they may not be saying your particular type of product, but I would assume that they are saying something very, very similar, and people are asking questions about that, and you can use that question in the content.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about
So,
that. But yeah, most Amazon products, they have like a question answer section.
Absolutely.
Or even in the reviews, sometimes people say like, hey, I didn't know it did this, or, that would all be good things. I didn't think about that. That's smart, especially for affiliate stuff.
Yeah. And then one final little tip that I have to give credit to our mutual friend, the other Christina. She said to me, and this actually hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was like, this is really, really smart. She said, what happens if you have like search on your site? Can you see those results? And I was like, because it's the most obvious thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
If your users are searching on your site for content and it's not there, that's the best place to start. Because you haven't
even thought about that, but yeah, you can see it, because like I know, especially WordPress, it'll show you like the question mark S equals, and you can see that in the URLs.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, now I'm gonna have to go look at mine. I hadn't thought about that.
Well, let Christina.
You're supposed to give me homework on these. We're giving our audience homework.
I know. But yeah, so I think again, because Christine is such a great marketer,
Yeah, she is inspiring. I was just talking to her yesterday again.
Absolutely incredible. Yeah. Which sense I was like, why didn't I think of that? Right? I was like, I feel so stupid. I'll go sit the corner with the other idiots. So
I hadn't even thought about that. Like, I've never thought about that. I've literally been doing content for 15 years. That has never crossed my mind.
Here we go.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing when this call is over.
Right.
Man, that's crazy. Okay, so that's a really good tip that I bet a lot of people have. And you can see that in your analytics, because you can see the pages that they're going for. It might not be super obvious if you don't know what you're looking for, but like I said, WordPress, it's like S equals, and then it'll show the search query in the URL.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. Okay, so look at that. I know another question I get from people a lot is like, how many articles should I be writing every week, every month? Like, that's a really common one. I think everybody expects us to say like, oh, you can do one a month, then you'll get where you want to go. But like, what's your take on that?
Sure. So I'm a massive fan of trying to pump out as much as possible. So on my main website at the moment, I'm doing 4 posts a week. And lots of people think that's really, really scary. That's really, really quickly. I'm going to run out of ideas. But I think if you're covering products that have so many questions that you can answer, even if it's just a short 700-800 word blog post, right? You can still crank 1 or 2 of them out a day, and therefore you're then getting further ahead of yourself. So I do think we've got to the point where Google wants usable authority before it starts to recognize that you exist. I think the best way to build authority, and we have talked about this before, is just making sure that you have enough content on your site that is also, it's not just length content, it's depth of content. So it's trying to answer, as much of that subject topic as possible, and do it in a way that links together and helps the user actually make a decision or educates them. And so there's nothing wrong with doing more. I follow a guy called John Dystra who runs Fat Stack's blog, who has a team of writers, and he's publishing an article a day across multiple sites. But he's got all the processes, and he's got like clockwork, and he blows my mind, right? He's trying to publish at the moment 1 million words in 3 months, just as an experiment. Because he can, right? Because he got the money, he's got the budget to do that. So yeah, he's just it's insane when you read that, right? So
there is too much. Is there too little?
Yes, absolutely. And again, because I think Google looks at relevancy and authority instead of the depth of content. I think if you're publishing like once a month or you're publishing really sporadically, you're not proving to Google or the user that you actually have what it takes to be successful. And I think unless you're like a thought leader where you can actually get loads and loads of backlinks and you can write comprehensively about one topic, and so you are connecting it, right? Like Brian Dean does, right? Where he writes these massive 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 word articles. And he publishes like once a month, I think it is, maybe like twice a month. There's no way to bring in authority unless you're doing that. And I know for a fact, behind the scenes, every post, I think he sends out about 200-300 link requests to people to say, can you read this? Can you look at it if you like it? Right? I think unless you can do that scale, which I think he obviously, because all the processes in place and got the team to do that, it's much better to just focus on publishing as much decent quality content as possible that answers your users' queries. You don't focus on links, you don't focus on any of that internet hoo-ha that you read about, right? And you just focus on what you think the user wants or what you think the user can gain from reading your site and being on your site as long as possible.
I know one trick I learned, because everybody always stresses on, like, what should my title be and how long should it be? One trick I learned is to take keywords and just search it. And just very quickly, don't spend a lot of time. Very quickly, just look at the end result. Because if you search that keyword, a lot of people get hung up on, is this awareness content, consideration content, or decision content? Google will tell you what people are looking for. It'll tell you this keyword is what it needs. Yeah, so it's if you type your keyword in and the 10 results are like a listicle, like the top things you need to know. And it's looking for a listicle.
Absolutely.
You need to write a list post. Everything you see is how to do your keyword. Then you need to write a how to. It's not that hard. You can look at the average length on the first 10. Just click them really quickly. And come back. It's a lot of time. And if I've seen some where it's the top ranking post for 300 words. Because that's all it took to answer the question.
Exactly.
What is content marketing? That's the question. So a really short article can rank really well without being in depth. It was a neat little trick, and we use that in my content for company, and we use that one a lot. It just makes sense.
And the other thing that I've discovered, and I've now shared with a couple of clients, is actually if you have a how-to question, how to reduce stress using vitamins, right? And you type into Google, and Google gives you all these mismatched pages that are that don't really match that intent. To me, I get really excited at that point because I think I can write an article with that exact keyword as a title, and nothing more, nothing less. And I know I can rank pretty high, pretty quickly, because Google will notice that I match the intent of the question with my answer. And people don't really get that because they get into this thing of, well, if all the results are this, don't mention the keyword, we must avoid keyword. And I'm like, well, no, it's just Google is trying to find the best information to give, and so far it hasn't matched the user's intent with the best content. So there's a slight mismatch there, even if it's just very slight. And by you going in and saying, right, here's the question, here's your answer, you're sorted, aren't you? You're done.
I thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people don't really understand how Google actually works, what it's there for. It's a search engine. Its entire intent is to help answer questions, and its goal is to find the best possible answers for your question. And when you're writing content, your goal is to be the best possible answer for that question. That's the only way Google's going to find you. I think that makes sense. I know when we're talking about publishing a lot of content, the mistakes people make, and I know me and you, I think, are kind of in agreement on some of this. You need to keep track of what you're writing. You need to have your inventory because you don't be competing with yourself.
No.
For this. This is what I see people do a lot, especially if you're doing things like gift posts are really common.
Right.
Like the 10 gifts for mom in 2021 for Mother's Day or something like that. You might, especially in the affiliate world, have links.
Yeah.
And it could be tempted to write another post every year, 21, 22, 23. But the smarter thing is to leave the year of the URL in the title, but leave it on the URL.
Yeah.
And then update the post.
Absolutely.
Keep it frequent, keep it relevant, and keep that integrity if something's been around for 2 or 3 years that you're updating every year. Stuff, and you can change. It might be 10 things one year, it might be 15, it might be 8, it might be whatever. So you can change the title.
Yeah.
That your URL will just be like top Mother's Day gifts for mom. Title's like 10 Mother's Day gifts for mom in 2021, for example, or something like that. So I know that's so. Speak to that really briefly, like keeping track of your inventory of content and then coming back and updating old content.
Sure. So I developed a keyword map that I use and I teach my clients, which basically it's an Excel document that has 3 tabs. So we have an ideas tab, a drafts tab, and a publish tab. And basically, in the publish tab, I literally just list out everything. So what keywords I'm targeting, where I publish, the URL, the meta description. So if I actually write something for an email or writing something for social, actually having the meta description in a really great jumping off point. And so I have what information, and so then I can see, I can also search by like topic. Even if it's just grabbing like, say, just in the titles, or I can, do by keywords, or I can do by category. I can say, right, what holes am I missing in the category? What have I covered? What haven't I covered? If I'm getting bored of one topic, I'm going to think, okay, cool, right, let's move on. Have something that's slightly related to that. And then I've written a post that kind of overlaps, but I haven't discussed topic B that much. So I can go load about topic B. So I'm a massive proponent of having a content map, having a content plan, having a framework that works for you, that has everything written down, and so you can be structured, even if you're not structured in terms of how you approach things, which I would want to go ahead, because I think consistency and having structure, either the loosest amount of structure and loosest amount of consistency that you can have, is going to help you actually win the race, right? So yes, so that's how I organize things. The other thing is, with say updating content, it's about understanding that you're in a dynamic marketplace, and so a lot of people, and I know you will have experienced this all the time, a lot of people think they build their website and think job done, right? And it's not that. Their marketplace is constantly changing. People are bringing new products. Buying behaviors are changing. How you're selling to them is changing. And so you need to be updating content as often as you realize these changes or little tweaks happen in the marketplace. So you need to be updating, but also you need to be updating as you improve your own voice as a writer, and also as you improve your understanding of a topic. Because you may write something that's completely kind of out of line with what the industry is going or where the industry is, but it takes you 6 months to realize that you've done that. I think it's really, really important that you can go back and you can say, actually, right, I can just tweak this slightly because of what I've learned here, and no one's going to prosecute you for that. No one's going to be upset. You might get a couple of angry emails, and that makes you want to rethink and make you rewrite, which I think is a really, really positive thing, right? But I think that's a really, really kind of positive thing. The other thing with rewriting as well, and this transmits the full point, we don't operate in a straight line. I think a lot of people, so a mutual contact is just a podcast, and he spent weeks obsessing about what titles to use, what descriptions to use. I said to him, one night on the group call, I said, just get the damn thing out there, and it's a law of improvement. You can sit back in 3 weeks' time when you launch, 10 episodes, and see what has worked, what hasn't worked, what has been engaging, what hasn't been engaging. You can keep testing things, and then you can roll it out as best practice across everything, and you can hopefully boost everything else as well. And I think that's really, really important. Is that it's you're having to continue to improve yourself and improve what your output is.
Well, I mean, we can look at your low performing articles too, which ones aren't getting as much traffic.
Of course.
So and start with those.
Right.
Not sure what but you need to, I think it's like every 3 to 6 months.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I tell people, like, depending on what your cycle is, a lot of business owners, quarterly planning, that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
every quarter you kind of do a new plan. Use that opportunity. Go look at like your lowest performing blog articles and figure out why and go fix those.
Yeah.
So I guess that would kind of be applicable in this like affiliate blogging strategies.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Whatever your cycle is, 3 months, 6 months, whatever, make a list of which ones to go groom. And you get some extra bang with having to write new content all the time too.
Exactly.
I think people don't realize you will eventually kind of exhaust almost everything you could say on topic, which is the cool part of this content strategy.
Yeah.
You have your books and you have all the stuff you can't say.
Yeah.
It would take you a while. I mean, you have 200 articles, but you could eventually exhaust most everything you
say. Yeah.
Then you can just go update stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have to produce as much.
No.
And having systems, I think, is important too. Like, I tell people all the time, look for ways you can reduce the mental calorie load.
Yeah.
I think people don't think about it because
no.
just building the system is a mental calorie task to start with. It's very intimidating. But once you have it, it's like having a checklist you can follow, so you're not having to think about it every single time. It reduces the mental calories of the task, and you're more likely to sit down and actually do it. Little tricks like, I mean, I noticed just on my daily to-do list, I follow the Eat the Frog strategy, and I have my frog. But that means I start every day looking at my biggest, scariest, task I have to get myself through. If I simply make a checklist for what goes with that task before, so when I sit down, I have my checklist. Well, now my frog isn't so scary anymore. So it's like the same kind of thing applies to so many people are so afraid to write. They're so afraid to put out content. They're like, oh, I don't know what to write about. I don't know how long it needs to be. I don't know what to do on the title. And I have seen people like literally spend hours writing a 100-word article. It's like, that is an hour per 100 words. Like, really shouldn't take that. How long do you think it takes? Like, if somebody's writing one article, how long should it take?
So I'm going to be political here and answer a different question. Just to the last point. That's okay. So I think the real problem with writing is that we're taught a very academic way in school and in college of how to write. And that's not actually how people have conversations. And I think if you change your mindset so you're having conversations, just writing, right? And you're speaking in your own vernacular, you're speaking in the idioms and the idiosyncrasies that you talk in every day, you can write a lot faster. Well, I think if you come with this preconceived idea, it actually has to be very formal, it has to be very dry, very boring, very stale. Yeah, that's just take you 8 hours to write 1,000 words because you're obsessing over each word. Whereas I think if you think, right, how can I turn this into a conversation at the pub? So we're having a look through, we battle ideas backwards and forwards like we are doing now on this podcast, right? And how can we turn that into a piece of content? None of us have said anything that's, well, I probably use a couple of 5-syllable words, right? But that's because of our recovery. But does that make sense? So, I just think the best tip you can for writing is just think about having a conversation with somebody. If you're really struggling, then get your phone out, record, or get onto the Loom or onto the Zoom even, and just record yourself having a conversation with yourself about a topic, and then transcribe that and start there. Because, you shouldn't really spend more than probably 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4, max, if you're doing lots of research on writing 1,000 words, 2,000 words. So, yeah.
And now I've done 1,000-word articles about 45 minutes, I think was my fastest.
Right.
I think my typical is an hour and a half.
Right.
Starting cold, like I just had the topic and I know I want to talk about it. And it's kind of it.
Yeah.
Hour and a half is average.
Yeah.
My system is intro put so that I'm very clear on what it is we're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's the hook story pitch format. In case this is true, this is what you're trying to learn. This is what you're getting out of reading this article. Build the outline and then I voice type. I think a lot of people don't realize like Google Docs has voice typing built in.
Okay, sure.
So I get my outline first, and this is just this is what works for me. Like I noticed if I just start talking and just use voice typing and talk about the topic, I tend to ramble. I kind of bounce around, and it's not very organized and structured. So if somebody was trying to follow me, they would be like, "Wait, what? Hang on." So like I have to get my main headings, my kind of outline down for like say I'm going to teach them 8 things.
Right, exactly.
I'm
Yeah,
going to teach them 3 steps. Here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. And I'll go into each one and I'll voice type that out.
Yeah.
And for me, it's so much faster once you start voice typing, and it's like you kind of screw grammar.
Yeah.
Like screw grammar best practices. Like you can have like 2 words on one line. It's fine. This is love that you circle to that. So it's not just a time thing. It's just conversational. Quit trying to write academic. That's a huge thing. I know that issue when we bring on new writers and they try and write so academically, and it's like that's not what we do.
No. But
we write conversationally.
Yeah, exactly. But I also think it's about. I think people struggle because they don't have a really solid idea of who they're talking to, and they can't picture that person. I think if you can picture that person, because again, as a bank manager told me 12, 13 years ago, people buy people, right? So you're not selling to another business, you're selling to another person. Always the case. If you try to convince another person of anything, of buying a product or believing in your idea, or or coming out with you tomorrow night on a date, you're still having a conversation with another person. And so therefore, if you have a really, really strong mental image of that person that you're trying to talk to, it makes it so much easier to write in their vernacular, and also understanding how they may talk and how they may react to certain things, or how they may, get certain phraseologies that that is in their kind of their natural parlance. So, because I often say a lot of my humor is, it's the things that aren't said, and it's such a position of like the duality of the wording. So I'll give you an example. So my best friend finds this hilarious. Is if I walk down the street and I see like a board game just lying on the street, I always go, "Oh, well, that's the fine street art in the town," because it's just duality of it's quite a random object to find, but as like just lies, how it creates it, right? I can imagine that isn't really that kind of intellectually kind of stimulating in that kind of way. It's just 3 things at once. So that's how I kind of think about these kind of things. But yeah, so I think if you can grasp onto a really strong idea of who you're talking to, and it's truly like having a conversation with them, like they're your best friend down the pub, or you're having a meal, that you can actually get much further in a short period of time.
That's why I start every article with the intro, because it's
exactly.
I follow the same form.
Yeah.
Story pitch form. This is who you're talking to. This is what's going on in their life.
This
is what I want them to get out of reading this article.
Yeah.
It's the hardest part to write.
Yeah.
It will literally take me just as long to write the introduction as it will to write the rest of the article, because once you've gotten really clear, like you said, who it is you're speaking to, the rest of the article comes so much easier.
It does.
Because we know who we're speaking to, we know what's going on in there, we know what it is we want them to get out of the article.
Yeah.
The rest just comes. Yeah. That's so easy. So I've kept you for so long. I just looked at the
time. I know, it's amazing.
48 minutes. It's going to be one of the
longest episodes. It's good. It's fun.
Wrapping it up here, like we talked a lot about some of the stuff in your zone of expertise, but like, who do you work with? What do you do? How can someone find you if they want to work with you?
So I've just finished a course, which is called Content Course, which basically teaches you my framework. It's $49 at the moment, and you have the agsdigitalgroup.co.uk, and it's on there. I also do consulting, so I work with consultants, affiliate sites, and e-commerce brands, basically to help them build out a content strategy, because either they're competing in a market that is really competitive, and therefore they can't go and buy ads, or maybe they do something that isn't explainable in like a Google ads. So I've got one client at the moment who teaches accountants to become CFOs, fractional CFOs. And so obviously you can't really explain that in a 2 sentences Google ads. So it's about trying to educate people who are accountants who are fed up that there is another path to make more money and to have a better work-life balance. How to actually, communicate their value in a unique way to get them paid for less. And so, yes, that's really, really exciting. So that's kind of what I help people do, away from obviously running affiliate sites myself. So I'm not just one of these people that has launched a course with no nightmares. I've got all the scars or the horror stories to back up my experience.
And I'll make sure that link is to like wherever you guys are watching this
Fantastic.
from out on
Lovely.
the web. I'll make sure it links straight to
Yeah.
his website. So any final like parting tips or advice that you want to share with our audience?
So yeah, if you have a question for me, come and hit me up on Instagram. I'm A_J_Saunders. Think about building out a content map so you have like the next 6, 9, 12 months all ready to go. Because then you can start to plan how you're going to do it and who's going to execute for you. And so a lot of people that I work with, what they want to do, they want to become better editors rather than writers, which creates massive opportunities for people like you with content ninjas. And so, that's what I suggested. So, decide where you're going and how you're going to get there, and try and build up the processes and the plan in place to help you reach that quicker. Because, I've never met somebody that has had a really stupidly ambitious goal that isn't achievable, even if it's going to take them a decade to get there, right? I've met loads of physicists who have, really, really crazy goals. They're just impossible, no matter how, But realistic people that have, big goals, they're still realistic because they're. So yeah, so that's what I would say. But again, like with anything, if you want to get good at something, just start. And so, I know I've said this for you as well as me. Some of the early articles I would never show anyone because they're just right. But but after doing it now for a couple of years, brushing over 1 million words, I've got kind of that sort of writing and beyond to writing different voices and writing different vernaculars, and that's what I think is so important.
I'm reminded of something from Tony Robbins. Like we overestimate what we can do in a week, and we underestimate what we can do in 5 years.
Right, exactly.
So it's like when you're planning out your goals, like just make it happen. I like what you said on that. Like just start taking action. I mean, that's kind of our whole thing here.
Exactly.
It's like what we're all about, right?
Exactly. Take action. Yeah.
Yep. So, on that note, thank you so much for doing this with me today. I think you shared so much advice. I learned things. So, like, I know this was right.
Fantastic.
So, entrepreneurs, guys, this is your call to take action. Like, join our community at ETH.zone. You'll learn how to build a business that enables your lifestyle without taking over your life. And you're going to meet experts just like AJ that are hanging out in the community, teaching people really cool things, sharing their knowledge. So definitely come join us over there. And until next time, guys, bye.